one of y'all wants to check it.
I'm already on it.
Bet.
More than dialed.
Locked in.
Excuse me. It says we are live. Let me see if I can join the live.
Yeah, and check our audio and all that. Just to be sure. Can't hurt. Yep, I see it from my phone too. Oh, we are black currently, but it goes away. It'll fix itself. It sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, as good as it's gonna sound, setup-wise.
True. Yeah, we're not to the point where we have the full mic set up on the road, but yeah, I think we're good to go.
All right.
All right, Jack, I'm gonna kick us off. Are we starting? Or are we gonna do our normal shenanigans?
Our normal what?
Normally we shenanigan around when we live stream, and then you're like, all right, and hit the button,
and
then we lock in,
Currently, I'm envisioning the technical foul theme song in my head. So in my mind, we're live and the show's going.
You wanna sing the song for us?
No, because I don't know how it goes.
JP, you wanna take it away?
And I already tried, so one of you has to go.
I can pull it
What
up.
What is up, guys?
I can pull it up on the old one.
I did my brain. I did my brain.
I got no idea.
No, they're in their zone with me. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast.
Press record.
What are we doing, man?
Man, okay.
At this point.
And
what is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jack Anderson, here as always with Sanders Oakley and JP. JP, how's the pool house treating you?
It's good. Since I got Wi-Fi, things were on the up.
It's a pretty big addition for sure.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I came home today and the pool was open, like the tarp was off. So I'm gonna probably take a swim tomorrow.
That'll be fun.
Clean and everything. Yeah. Look pretty clean. But yeah, it's treating me well.
Sanders, how are you?
Summer softball practice tonight. So
it happens. We're back to
which is leaving me struggling with AirPods and other things. So
we're doing the best we can. It's an NBA breakdown show, so not like there's tons going on. But yeah, I guess we get rolling. Y'all can tell we're in our Discord setup. I'm slightly more scuffed, but you'll be seeing it throughout the summer, time and time again. We're doing the best we can to get episodes out. On the docket tonight, it's NBA recaps of the conference finals. One just wrapped up. OKC finished off Minnesota in a gentleman's sweep, wins the series 4-1. And the Pacers will look to do the same tomorrow night and win that series in 5 over the Knicks. We'll see if the Knicks can extend the series. And then besides NBA, we have weekly segments, my weekly segments, and then Sanders' question of the week to get to after that. But we can get rolling into the NBA playoff series if Sanders' audio check is confirmed. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so 2 games have happened in this series since we last recorded. Game 4 was very close in Minnesota. I felt like, especially, I didn't get to watch the first half of that game because I was driving back from Jackson, but in the second half it just kind of felt like both teams were playing really good basketball. but Minnesota could never close the gap and take the lead. OKC just kind of kept the 6-point lead, or just kind of kept keeping Minnesota at like an arm's length away. And then tonight they win by 30. Wasn't even close. OKC I think scored 9 points in the first quarter. We're basically already down by 20, and then they just ran away with it from there. JP, what are your thoughts on this series wrapping up on tonight's game or Game 4?
Yeah, I'd start with Game 4.
Sure.
You didn't get to see it, but they literally play this, the ESPN, the sounds of the game, the mic'd up stuff pre-game where they do what the coach was saying in the locker room.
Yeah.
Chris Finch said, and I quote, "Similar to what we said before Game 3, take away Chet, take away JW." And he was very adamant about that. Like, that was like the game plan, is limit them, make Shea score 45, make the other guys hit shots like Cason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins and Lou Dort, and just take away Chet and Jalen Williams. Well, you see that, and you hear that from a coach, and you think of, all right, that's the game plan. Basically, like, the series is in the balance here. 91% of the time, a team goes up 3-1, they win the series. And so it's like, okay, Minnesota better lock in and do this. The first quarter, not even the first quarter, the first 5 minutes, Chet and JW combine for the team's first 7 points. Jalen Williams scores 13. And then, of course, they close out together, scoring 55. OKC,
and then Shea also gives you a nice 40.
Yeah, 1 rebound away from a triple-double. They, this was noted earlier today, so it's not me just saying this and the first time anyone's hearing this, but they as a big three combined for more points in a playoff game than the OKC big three ever did in Harden, Westbrook, and Kevin Durant. And I don't think I'm wrong in saying this. Many view that OKC big three is light years better than this OKC big three.
Well, that's just revisionist history because of who Harden became.
I agree.
It wasn't like Harden was that at the time. It wasn't. They probably weren't even really calling that a big three, to be honest.
For a Thunder fan at that point and a Thunder kid, that was my team growing up. Yeah, Harden wasn't what he was, but there was also, I mean, that was a huge discourse for that year and that off season was, for one, the OKC fans, the fan base, and much of the NBA world wanted Harden to start.
Sure, I do. Yeah, I remember that.
They were persistent. Scott Brooks was persistent in starting Thabo Cephalosha instead and bringing Harden off the bench. And so Harden played slow and just kind of lethargic throughout that NBA Finals against the Heat. And then they let him go in the off season for whatever reason, and the rest is history. But yeah, coming back to this Thunder team, they scored 95 together. The most the other Thunder big three ever scored was 94 together in a playoff game. So truly remarkable. But yeah, Chris Finch says, take away Chet, take away JW. They combined for 55 points. That just didn't work. And then another thing you noticed right at the top, as a basketball watcher, OKC changes the game plan immediately going into Game 4. Lou Dort starts picking up Ant at half court. Like, literally, he would stand at the half court line and meet him every single time, whether he had the ball or whether he didn't have the ball. It slowed Ant down. It forces the ball out of his hand almost immediately because he doesn't want to cross half court and be in a little trap with not a lot of room to work with. But it forced Ant to attack from 35 feet from the basket. And when he's attacking from so deep, it allowed the help defense to fully help over in time. There were no blow-bys, no easy layups for Ant. And it forces him to kick it out the shooters. And to the Timberwolves' credit, they knocked down shots in Game 4, 64 bench points. Nikhil Alexander-Walker is their leading scorer with 23. But the big storyline in Game 4, Ant takes his first shot with 35 seconds left in the first quarter of a Game 4 at home, down 2-1, where the odds are against you if you lose this game. And yeah, it was matchup dependent. Yeah, he even said, "Oh, I was making the right play all night." Inexcusable. If it was, he took his first shot with 35 seconds left. If they're up 10 because he's making the right play the entire first quarter, and then he takes his first shot, who cares? It's not a big deal. They're down 9 when he finally takes his first shot. It's unacceptable. And I like the pushback is he's young and he's inexperienced, but he's the superstar. He's the best player on our team, and you're not going to be void from this criticism. It's happened to every single young player that's became a superstar. It happened to Kevin Durant. It happened to Jordan. It happened to LeBron. So Ant deserves all the criticism for it. And then Julius Randle gets just none of the fire, which I think is just hilarious.
Yeah, I get the Ant has to be better, but I also agree with him in the sense of he was making the right plays. At times, he still needs to be more aggressive because you're right, he's the best player on the team. To me, Julius Randle sitting down there with 5 points in a crucial game is exactly why I don't want Julius Randle as the second best player on my team if I'm trying to win a championship. Is now, to his credit, he's had a lot of great games in this playoffs, but we've also seen some duds, especially in this series. This is second time scoring single digits in the series.
Correct. Second time. Yeah.
So it's really rough. Everyone else was hitting their shots and was making the right reads. He does still need to be a little more aggressive. To me too, it was more, and I've seen most people bring this up. His body posture throughout this game was rough. He was clearly pissed that he was he got double teamed on 46% of his touches. And he was pissed about it. He looked disinterested on defense at times and just clearly frustrated, throwing his hands up in the air. And as the best guy on the team, I think that does bleed down. And I think we saw that especially in Game 5 tonight, which is what I was really worried about seeing that from Ant, is just as great as OKC was tonight to close out the series. I think a lot of it started with the Timberwolves. Just kind of they lost their edge that they had played with kind of in Games 3 and 4.
Agreed. It was, well, for me, it was surprising. Given that the way that they played in Game 3, you would think it would be the biggest confidence boost possible. And then you come out and your two superstars lay a dud, but it continues to go back to the point that I've made this entire series and in the preview. To beat OKC, you got to play an elite 48 minutes, and you got to play elite as a team. And that was the case this entire series. Every game that they lost, something was missing. The superstars played well. The bench was terrible. In Game 4, the bench plays terrible, and the bench plays elite, and the superstars don't play well. And then in Game 5 tonight, everybody was basically bad. Okay. For me, it is. I hope the view of the series isn't, wow, the Timberwolves suck. They're not ready. They're all of this. No. OKC is just that elite.
Yeah.
We can't.
Not according to the Morris twins.
We can't change our opinion in a week and a half immediately. When for the past 2 years, when the T-Wolves have made it to this conference finals and gone on these 2 deep playoff runs, we've been, oh, Ant, he's terrific. Timberwolves are so elite. They're so fun to watch. They play with such high intensity. Chris Finch is such an excellent coach, and now they've laid duds in 2 consecutive conference finals. I wouldn't put them under the gun, though.
Sure.
I think last season, Ant was clearly tired after a gruesome 7-game series against Denver, and then Doncic and Kyrie were unbelievable, and then in this one, the Thunder are just an elite team, and they are now the 4th team ever to win 80 games prior to reaching the NBA Finals, winning tonight, along with the 73 win Warriors, the 72-win Chicago Bulls, and another Chicago Bulls team as well.
Sure.
So just remarkably impressive, and shout out to the Thunder. Again, this is what I expected. I picked them to win it in 5. This team they're elite, and they're led by the MVP, and you could say they're just getting there, and they're just like developing, and they're not even in their prime yet, which is insane just to even think about. They're so fun to watch for me, even though the world doesn't think they're fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think I completely agree. This is not, I mean, not saying that OKC or Minnesota played a great series, but there's just always going to be a really tall task for them to beat a team as good as this. So this is not a knock on Minnesota losing this series. Maybe a bit of knock and losing it how they did and getting blown up by 30 in Game 5, and showing just kind of a little resistance in that guard and looking a little disinterested, in my opinion. And it can be a knock on Ant too, because if he wants, like you said, if he wants to be included in these superstar talks, then you get held to a superstar standard, like a LeBron, like a Curry, like a Jokic, like a Giannis. It doesn't matter how good the other team is if you're supposed to be that good. You have to find a way to rise above, and you may not win the series, but you have to at least try your damn hardest to win the series. Think about Jokic last series, some of the performances he put up to try and get his team home down the stretch, with the roster that people consider to be much worse than Minnesota's. So, but this OKC team is special, and I liked what I saw from Chet and J-Dub in this series a lot, in terms of rising up to help Shea on a more consistent basis and consistent level, I felt like, in this series. So
yeah, no, they're very good, and they're really just developing. J-Dub was really good and honestly terrific this entire series, being the second option. And for Chet, it is the plays you watch him make. You start getting into the territory of, like, I mean, once this guy like really finds his stride, he's gonna be like one of the dominant players in the NBA, because that's that's par for the course for this era of the NBA, is these just freak athletes that are so skilled. Chet's bag and is very deep, and it was a big question coming into the NBA was, is this guy going to be able to get to the paint, get to the block, even be able to attack the rim in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah.
He wasn't a terrific shooter coming out of college, and he's developed a very consistent three-point shot. And he blew by Gobert so many times in this series. If he ever got into a spot where he had Randall or Naz Reid on him, he was able to finish over the top. And then he's terrific at using his reach to his advantage. He doesn't flail. He doesn't any little contact attacking the rim doesn't really hurt him.
Yep.
He'll rise up and he hammers it. He dunks it.
He's throwing down the most dunks in this playoffs. So
yeah, in spots where he's supposed to, and obviously he's an elite lob threat. He has been terrific, and I'm happy for him because, not dreadful, but kind of a nightmarish 3-year start to your career, where you missed your rookie season before you even get to play a game. Finished second in the Rookie of the Year last year, playing all 82 games, but then this season you missed over 50 games on the best team in the NBA, and it would be very easy to come back and kind of play off to the side, not really try to take advantage of any opportunities, but he's taken it at full force, and he's really capitalized on it.
Which I think that's a credit to both him and the team. Whereas the team, when he comes back, is realizing, knowing who he is and who he can be, hey, we're going to need this guy come playoff time. let's figure out a way to get him going before we reach that. I'm not the biggest Chet guy, not from a talent standpoint, more so because I'm a Spurs fan, and the Chet Wemby debate was raging last. I mean, they were in the Rookie of the Year race together, so more of a rivalry standpoint there. But personally, I can't. I mean, he doesn't have a good voice. We'll actually get to singing later in the podcast. But I can't wait. Like, I hope we get a lot of Wemby Chet matchups in the playoffs, because that would be a blast. I'm just looking forward. I have a question for you, JP, because I saw this on Twitter. Would Chet? I have my answer. I'm just curious. Would Chet J-Dub go 1-2 in a redraft of the 2022 NBA draft?
Who was the second pick?
Chet was the second pick. Paulo was the first overall pick.
Yeah, I saw that today.
I agree.
I would say one.
They'd go top 3, looking at the other guys in this class.
I still don't even think. I think Chet has an argument for 1, and he did at the time as well. But I would still.
I'm taking Paulo 1 still. I'm
taking Paulo 1.
Yeah.
It's an elite.
Chet 2, and I do think it's Chet 3. Looking at the rest of this draft. Yeah. So I agree. I was curious if you would have a different opinion on that, and I did think that's interesting. And even to get easily to the top 5 guys in the class, just to make it nice and simple. They got one of them in the top 5, but J-Dub was taken 12. So to get those 2 guys in the same draft class is great work from the Thunder. And now they're headed to the finals largely because of those 2 guys, and obviously Shea. Anything else to add, or do we want to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah, I want to look at Minnesota for the offseason. They've got some big decisions to make. Sure. Julius Randle is going to be on a player option, $30 million. Naz Reid's going to be on a player option, $15 million. Expectation right now is Naz Reid would decline that and look for a bigger payday, and I would assume Minnesota is going to pay him.
He's loved there from a fan standpoint, so absolutely. I agree that I think they'll try and keep him around.
Yeah, Naz Reid, enough said, as Minnesota fans would say. Julius Randle is going to be very interesting with the way he played in this postseason, which I would argue is largely matchup dependent, playing the Lakers team and Warriors team with no big man, and then you play the Thunder and you kind of falter. But the way he deserves credit for a terrific season, coming from a trade with Karl Anthony Towns, and he's going to get money regardless of where he goes. Minnesota probably has enough money. They have enough money to sign both of them. They'd probably be over the second apron.
I think
signing both of them.
Have to bring Julius Randle back. In terms of, I just don't know what else they do. If they don't, maybe they find another option. But despite some of his flaws, if you lose him, I just don't really know.
I don't think you have to. I think you've got a starting lineup. You have Ant. Mike Conley's going to return next year, but you could easily start Rob Dillingham, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Terrence Shannon in one of those spots. Gobert would play the big. Naz Reid can play the 4, and Jaden McDaniels still playing the 3. So like that. That's not a bad team by any means.
Yeah, I just think unless you get a Rob Dillingham or Terrence Shannon, high explosion in terms of development, you're really lacking a second creator on that team, in my opinion. I don't know who you go to when Ant's off the floor. See, I don't trust Naz Reid to be that guy.
Well, then they shouldn't pay him. That's where the issue is. If they're going to pay him the money, he has to be that.
What do you think he's going to get on the market?
I think he's going to get. He won't get a max contract, but he's going to get. This is a guy who's back-to-back years in the Sixth Man of the Year conversation.
Yeah.
Elite scorer. He's been productive in the postseason while he was bad in this series. He was elite in the postseason, both last year and this year. He's going to get. We still haven't seen him in a starting role.
Yeah.
He's going to be I think he's going to be nearly in the 40s in terms of $40 million. I think that's about where his range would be.
A year?
So if you're paying him that much, like, Jack, it's the NBA. Like,
I know everyone gets a ton of money. I still think that's really, really high.
I think that's his place, honestly. And players or teams that's a high premium, especially with the production that he's had, and he's still a very young player. I believe he's 25, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
25, like he's still got 7-8 years in the league. That's 2 contracts right there. He's going to get paid. There's just no way he's not going to get paid. And if you're going to pay him for Minnesota, he's going to be the second option.
If you pay him that much, he better be the second option.
Exactly,
in my opinion, if you get rid of Julius Randle, you're lowering the ceiling of this team.
Sure, but I think you got to have some trust in your draft class, in Rob Dillingham. I mean, that's a high premium pick. I mean, you wanted him.
I love me some Rob Dillingham. They traded Stephon Castle to get Rob Dillingham.
4 or 5 to San Antonio, like
4 to San Antonio, and then they trade him for Castle.
So that's a high premium pick right there. That's not nothing. And I mean, imagine a world where Rob Dillingham is a star player with Anthony Edwards. That's a pretty dynamic backcourt. Terrence Shannon, the way he played in this postseason, he's going to get rotation minutes next season
easily.
100%. I think they've got not a sleeping giant, but a sleeping rotation player, and Luka Garza still sitting there. And okay,
that's not me disagreeing. I just really dislike Luka Garza from his days at Iowa. That's not that's just, I can't believe we're potentially going to get Luka Garza rotation minutes in the league after I dogged on him for years at Iowa.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And they're still going to have a little bit of money. In fact, they could probably still get just below the second apron and sign another player in the $10 to $15 million range.
Sure.
While signing Naz Reid, because they'll have bird rights on Naz Reid, and they can go over the cap.
If they go Naz Reid, Julius Randle, they will have a little bit of wiggle room. Or Naz Reid let Julius go. I'm interested to see if they let Julius Randle go where he goes, because not very many teams have money to spend. So that'd just be interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, the team with the most money to spend is Brooklyn, but why in the world would Brooklyn want Julius Randle? Just doesn't help them out at all with what they're trying to do in their timeline. Big question to be asked for sure. I've seen a lot of talk. Shams has basically come out and said that talking to NBA executives, they expect this to be an insane off-season. Just in terms of lots of moves and lots of trades. Not necessarily on the free agency front, because it's actually a weaker free agency class, which is why I think they expect it to be a wild off-season in terms of moves, because no one has money and there's no great free agents, so you have to get creative to find ways to improve your team. Yeah.
Brooklyn's got a ton of money. Detroit has a ton of money next season.
Yeah.
Nearly $60 million.
Spurs have some money.
They don't have any big contracts to sign. That's a fit, in my opinion. He could easily be a second option with Cade Cunningham.
Sure.
And I think he fits a Detroit aspect of basketball. And with his ability to stretch the floor too, you are able to play him alongside Jalen Duren.
Yeah.
So I think that's a potential fit. I think.
I don't think I'm going to love any Julius Randle fit, because I don't love Julius Randle as a player. So.
Sure. It'll be interesting. But I think, in my opinion, I would let Randle walk. I'd sign Naz Reid. I would play Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon. Like, you drafted him.
Yeah.
Play him. No reason not to. I'd sign one other guy, probably a depth big man. Especially Jack would probably sign one since he doesn't want Luka Garza coming off the bench. And,
Good luck finding the big man in this league and in this market, because it seems like everyone needs one.
We have to remember that Anthony Edwards is extremely young. He's 23. Yep. Jordan didn't win his first title until he was 29, 30. And if he's going to keep getting comparisons to Jordan, then you can keep saying stuff like that. Sure. He's got a long way to go, and he's already accomplished more than he ever really should have. So they're still going to have a bright future going forward, even in the Western Conference. And realistically, with their ability to defend, they're going to be a good team throughout a regular season, and they'll be a threat anytime you get to the postseason against them.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I last thoughts on that is if you let Julius Randle walk, it's yet another very bold move from a front office. I mean, not a ton of people were very ecstatic about the Cat Julius Randle trade for them. They saw that as not a winning move, but a money-saving move. And then to let Julius Randle walk a year after doing that, you really better hope you're right if you're the Timberwolves front office. We can move on to the Eastern Conference Finals, though, Sanders, if you want to pull up the graphic. This series is not over. The Knicks took a 3-1 lead. The Pacers, that is, took a 3-1 lead last night at home to retain home court advantage. They won by 9, but this was kind of one of the first games of the series where, I guess the Knicks win a little bit as well. But, this game wasn't crazy close down to the wire. Knicks at one point did look like they were going to make a run, but Indiana staves it off. Halliburton was fantastic in this game. He finished with 32, 12, and 15, and I think he was at 29 and 10 at the end of the first half. So just dominant from him. In a game plan, too, where I think the Knicks really tried to key in on him, and it just didn't matter. He just got it done. You get 30 from Siakam. He's been great in this series at dominating the mismatches he gets. When he gets switches and smaller players, if Miles Bridges or OG Anunoby is on him, he's just saying, I'm bigger than you. I'm going to back you down, and then hit a little hook shot or a fadeaway or something like that. On the flip side of things for the Knicks, Jalen Brunson was pretty good. Cat was solid. To me, the biggest thing this series has been they haven't figured out what rotations they like in this series, and it may just be they don't have lineups that they really like to face this Pacers team, but they've had to expand the rotation because of how fast the Pacers play. You've been starting Mitchell Robinson instead of Josh Hart, and then you haven't really been playing that lineup very much because it doesn't really work. I don't know. I've seen some Knicks fans upset and basically being like, you've trusted this starting 5 all series or all season, and even like these are our 5, these are our 5, these are our 5. And then to go away from it pretty quickly is an interesting thought. To me, this was kind of it for the series, though. I don't see the Knicks winning 3 straight games. But what are your thoughts, JP? And then we can kind of bounce back and forth.
I think they can do it. Obviously, I picked him in 7, so I still believe in him. I'll talk about that later. But I think, for me, it's just, I don't even know if you want to put it a bad matchup, but it kind of is that way.
They can't guard this Pacers team effectively.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the story of Indiana's season, and even last year as well. In the playoffs and wins, they're averaging 123 points per game. In losses, they're averaging 102. In the regular season, points per game in a win, 122. In a loss, 110. Last postseason, 121 in a win, 7 in a loss. So, like New York scoring, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Brunson is
all about the defense.
Here's their 4 best players for the Knicks. Brunson in this series is averaging 33 a game. Cat 26 and 11. OG 18 a game, Mikal Bridges 17 a game, and it doesn't matter, and that's just insane. It reminds me so much. It's like Big 12 football. Literally, you can.
This is optional.
You watch an elite game, 49-56, and like I think of the quarterbacks that like has elite numbers in the Big 12, like a Will Grier, for instance, has elite numbers, but you don't remember them and you don't care because they didn't win. And that feels the same here with New York. Like, we can say Brunson has been terrific and Cat has been terrific as I expected him to be from a scoring perspective, but it doesn't matter because they can't get a stop. And those Oklahoma teams were great and everything, and they made the playoffs and multiple Heisman Trophy winners and Lincoln Riley and everything, but they couldn't get a stop, so it just doesn't matter. And that is exactly how this series feels. And I don't know, it's surprising to me considering the way last season's series played where the Knicks were kind of undermanned. OG hurts his hamstring early. Obviously, Julius Randle didn't play in that series at all, and yet still the Knicks took basically the same Pacers team to 7 games. I think part of it is Pacers just have another year of playing this style of offense under their belt.
I think Siakam has grown into this offense a lot better with another year of reps of figuring out how to play fast, but then also find his moments to get those post-ups and back-downs. I think it's been huge.
And then I think the Benedict Mathurin piece has been really, really good for them, and it was in Game 4 specifically. That's
the thing about this Pacers team is, like, Mathurin comes out and drops 20, and he's had some quiet games in this series where he's not really done anything. And then you look at Nembhard, and he scores 3 in Game 4, but he's had big moments. They just have so many guys to throw at you.
Yeah, Mathurin scores 20 in 12 minutes of play.
Yeah.
Diabolical. Just, like, insane. The Pacers in this series have 5 30-point games from players. Halliburton has 2, Siakam, Nesmith, and I'm forgetting the other off the top of my head.
Doesn't Siakam just have 2?
Siakam has 2, yeah, correct. So, like, going on, for the Knicks to win this series, for me, look at the data. The data says you got to slow them down, you got to hold them. And the game that they won, the Pacers score 100 points. So it's got to start with defense. You have to hold them under 105 points. And you can't let someone go for 30. Like I said, they've given up 5 30-point games in the losses in this series. And their win, 3 guys were with 20 points or more for the Pacers, and 1 guy scored 17. But they don't get a bunch of points, so it doesn't matter. I think you got to slow the pace way down, like burn clock incredibly, which Pacers, the way they play, it forces you almost to play that pace because of when they full court press, you're breaking the half court line with 17 seconds instead of 21 seconds. It speeds up your decision-making process, how quickly you have to get to a spot and get to a shot. You have a lot of forced shots at times. And then for me, I think you have to take something away. You can't let Indiana have both of what works in today's game, threes and layups. You got to take one away. And too many times throughout this series, it's been in the 3 losses, Indiana shot 40% from 3, shooting 35 threes a game. In Game 3, they shoot only 25 threes and shoot 25%. So you got to take something away. I would, in my opinion, you take away the 3-point shot. I think your guys are good enough to chase down and block. I think Mitch Robinson's good enough and help defense to get there and contest. But you can't let them have easy blow-bys. And at the same time, you play with so much space and off the ball that you're scared to get blow-by that you just give up an open 3. You have to take 1 of the 2 away. I would take away the 3 ball because that's what worked in Game 3. Indiana shoots 25 threes on 25%. You kind of have to play the averages. You have to hope that, like, by holding Indiana's 3 point shooting down, they don't have a chance to have a spurt where they go 4 for 5 or 3 for 6, and you can just hold their percentage down. And the other thing is you got to win a damn game in the Garden. Like, you can't have the best atmosphere, arguably, in sports and not come out here and win. And that's been true for now 3 postseasons in a row. They just have not been good in the Garden, and that's kind of unacceptable, in my opinion. It's been seen throughout all of the elite teams in NBA history. They're really, really damn good at home. The Celtics are really like the only outlier to that, where they were a team that were bad at home, but like really, really good on the road. You can protect home court and try and get it to a game 6. See if you can steal another on the road, and then anything can happen in 7.
Sure. Yeah, you just got to take it a game at a time. I think my biggest thing for the Knicks is completely agree. It starts on defense. You have to find a way to get stops. But time and time again, we've seen in this series where they just kind of fall asleep. They let a cutter get open on a baseline out of bounds play, or they even will like score a basket, and then it still somehow turns into a layup or not a layup, but a fast break opportunity for Indiana. I think we saw it in yesterday's game. They cut to a timeout with Tibbs, and he was like, y'all can't jog back. Like, it has to be a sprint, because Indiana's just always looking. They're looking for any opportunity to push the pace and get an easy bucket, and they've been very good at doing that this series. And I think that's what scares me for a potential Knicks comeback is the amount of energy they'll have to exert for 3 straight games to play good defense and kind of keep up with Indiana's hectic but yet controlled fast pace. Is just, I struggle to see them finding that energy for 3 straight games. They could do it. We've seen this group be pretty resilient in this playoffs. Even a little bit in last year's playoffs, just with all the injuries and still pushing this team to 7. But it feels a lot like the OKC, the other series in a lot of ways, but a little different in the terms of they both Knicks and Minnesota both find a way to win game 3. But it's like they had to exert so much. We're talking about a desperation game, right? And then they play game 4 pretty close, but can't necessarily get it done. And then, OKC blows up Minnesota tonight. And I think that's where that differs. Is while I don't know if the Knicks will win game 5, I trust this group's mentality a lot more than do Minnesota's group to keep fighting. So.
Yeah. For them, you used your desperation game at the wrong time. Like I said in the last episode, like historically, a team with any kind of pulse in that first desperation game wins that game. It feels like almost 95% of the time.
Yeah.
But the second time it comes around, more often than not, it's a lethargic loss than it is a competitive game. And we saw it tonight in Game 5 with Minnesota and OKC. It'll be interesting, though. It flips because New York will be at home. So hopefully they can feed off that home court and can play well.
I can't believe they can't. Like, it makes no sense, but it's where they're at. I want to hop back to the Pacers real quick. Go ahead. I mentioned their hectic yet controlled pace, and it is just insane. However, doesn't have a turnover last night. The Knicks are throwing everything they can at him, and he just does his thing. I think he had 12 assists. I sent y'all the message in the group chat. It was like players to throw for 400 yards and no interceptions. And Halliburton was on the list with all the NFL QBs. It's very, very impressive that they play at this pace and yet win the turnover battle over and over again. I mean, the Knicks had, I think they were +6 turnover margin yesterday. Let me look at that real quick.
Pacers were +6.
Yeah. +6, yeah. It's very impressive stuff.
Yeah, Halliburton has been great. All postseason, or undoubtedly all postseason. He has 32, 12, and 15. Last night as well. He if they are able to complete this and get to the finals, it'd be a very fun series watching him versus SGA. It'll be such an interesting matchup too because they both are like deep teams, play a lot of guys. OKC plays a lot of guys that are elite defensively, and then the Pacers play a lot of guys that can score a ton. So it'll be a very interesting matchup if we get that far. But this is kind of it's became the way to go. At least being seen last year, this year, and it seems like this is the way the NBA might be heading with the way the three-point shot is being shot so much that you need a deep team. You need a lot of guys you can rely on, and that's kind of true a lot of the time in the playoffs in any sport. Especially when you're playing 7-game series, you're going to need other guys to step up.
Well, it's like everyone has great players this deep in the playoffs, so you'll find the victories in the margins.
Yeah.
This Tyrese matchup, I feel like they're kind of guys with similar paths where they are now. At least different teams, and then I don't know if those teams gave up on them too early. I don't say gave up on them, but they were moved, and kind of where they are now, and it's kind of like I don't know. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. They didn't actually get given up on, but both teams they were on decided that they had other pieces they liked better. / they had someone they wanted more. The Kings very quickly decided that they didn't think Tyrese and De'Aaron Fox could play together, and they wanted to get a big man to play with De'Aaron Fox, so they got Sabonis. And then the Clippers decided they wanted to try and win now and entice Kawhi to come to town because Kawhi wasn't going to go to the Clippers if they don't get Paul George. So they pay a king's ransom for Paul George and give up Shea. So yeah, it is. That's a good point. I've enjoyed watching. Before the series started, someone asked, I think it was probably Molly, basically asked, or the question came up on First Take, like, are Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton both superstars? And Stephen A. Smith very quickly was like, no, Jalen Brunson is a superstar. Tyrese Halliburton isn't a superstar. And it's been funny because they keep basically asking him that question over and over again. And each time he gets more and more agitated as Tyrese Halliburton's taking a 3-1 lead over Jalen Brunson. Not that Brunson hasn't been great. It's just, I don't know, it's just funny. First Take is a cesspool at this point. I mean, we got the Morris twins yesterday saying there are no great teams left in these playoffs. Crap like that. It's insane, man.
Right.
There's only elite team. There's an elite team.
Elite teams. Two elite teams and 2 good teams.
Sure.
New York's the good team.
Yeah.
Segments, are y'all done with that?
JP,
you still have the Knicks in 7, or are you saying you believe because that's what you picked to start?
I still think they can get it done. I really do. But like it's got to start defensively, and they're gonna have to do it for 3 straight games. I do think partially like part of me thinks we might be due for a Pacers clunker. We kind of saw that. We saw that in the Cleveland series. In 2 separate games, they were just not good in the first half. But then Cleveland just decided to give them the game back for whatever reason.
Donovan Mitchell.
And maybe they used it up in the first game when the Knicks are up 16. But I still do think maybe we're due for a Pacers clunker, which New York fans would hope for. That gets you a game, and then if that game is Game 6, maybe you're supposed to win Game 5, and then anything can happen in 7. So I still think they have a chance.
Yeah. I mean, sure they have a chance. I picked the Knicks to win this series. I no longer think they win this series. I think I'll join my boy Jackson Carter on the Pacers in 6 train. Now, of course, if the Knicks pull this off, I'll be like, man, I was right all along, I can look back to the first episode. It's pretty easy to do. But, yeah, I don't have anything else to say in terms of NBA basketball. JP?
I wanted to say one more I'll make it bigger. If the Knicks somehow lose this series, they are wasting a tremendous opportunity.
Sure. Completely agree.
This season, with the Jason Tatum injury, with the Damian Lillard injury, with the Pacers knocking out a 64-win team in Cleveland, they are wasting. This is as good as a chance as you're ever going to get to make the NBA Finals. A rematch against a team you already took the 7 games when you have home court advantage and you're supposed to be viewed as the elite and better team. I think you lose this series. You may never get back to this spot again, although the East is really bad and Tatum's out next year. Giannis is gone.
They have another year to look to get back, but I agree. There's no reason to really expect them to get much better. It's not like they're really like, it's not like Jalen Brunson is a young star where it's like he has another leap he could hit, or like Cat's young, or even like a Miles. All their guys are kind of who they are at this point, barring something really unexpected, and they're expensive too. Like,
I think they've only got one option, and that's to fire Thibodeau and move on. You've seen now, you've gotten 3 postseasons of Tom Thibodeau with the Knicks in the playoffs, and all 3 times you've seen they either get hurt, or in this case, they're just outworked because they just don't have enough guys they can rely on, and that is part in because this is the way Thibodeau plays his guys the entire season. This is not like a new thing. Like, this is the way he plays guys the entire season. This isn't like college basketball where for the first 3 months of the season, for the first 25 games, you play 9 guys. You play an 8-man rotation. You play 10 guys at times. At a conference, you're playing 10, 11. And then when you get to the later course of the season, you're playing 6 guys. No, Thibodeau plays 7 guys like the entire season.
Sure.
So I think that's got to be the coaching change you make, and then you can allow yourself to find hopefully some developing bench pieces by giving them the chance to play minutes. Like Precious Achiuwa plays really well for them in last postseason, and then because they've shortened up the rotation, he just doesn't get any minutes. And that doesn't make any sense to me. I think that's the only course of action that they can make. But I'll go deeper into it if they were to lose. But I think wasting a huge opportunity, it would seem right now.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say, I don't even feel like Thibs has done a terrible job or anything, like it's been an egregious malpractice, but it's like something has to change, and that just kind of is the logical / easiest thing for them to change, is with the head coaching position. So, yeah, we could definitely, if they lose this series, we'll do kind of a Knicks future outlook type segment, but I said if. Weekly segment time? Yeah, let's do it. I said weekly segment time. Yeah, this Cock of the Walk is pretty personal to me. I'm a Braves fan. Acuna is my favorite Brave ever at this point. How can you not love the kid? He's special. He's got it. I think it was Matt Olson that said it after the game where I'm about to reference. Acuna basically tore his ACL last year, and about a year later comes back and hits a home run on his first pitch he sees since tearing his ACL as the leadoff batter. An absolute nuke. It's 115 off the bat, 467. For his size and speed, he hits tanks like someone like Aaron Judge, or like a Giancarlo Stanton. He's special. And yeah, like Matt Olson said it after the game, he said some players are born with it, and he's clearly got it. So while the Braves are kind of sucking it up right now, at least I can tune into games and watch him play, knowing that he's back, and anytime he comes up to bat, you're watching something special. So I'm very happy he's back. The baseball world's very happy he's back. So my chocolate walk is Ronald Acuna Jr. JP, I know you're a Braves fan, so if you want to add into the sentiments.
He's got one of the most beautiful. I don't know a ton about baseball swings. I know an enormous amount about golf swings. So there's a little bit of translation, but he has, from my knowledge, one of the most beautiful baseball swings in the world. It is his generation of power is tremendous. The way he gets the bat in the zone, keeps it in the zone throughout. He just, at his size and like you said, and his weight too, he looks so strong and such a good stature when that bat is coming through. It's a sight to behold. And it's a damn shame he's torn his ACL twice, or he'd be the best player in baseball unquestioned right now.
Sure.
If he still had the speed that he had prior to the 2 ACL tears. But yeah, he is awesome to watch. Yeah, as a Braves fan, you love to have a guy like that in house. And hopefully, I hope that we can get him into a postseason healthy, and I'd love to see what he can do in a postseason.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen.
Yeah, we've seen a couple flashes, but he, with kind of in the earlier years of this Braves run, but no deep sustained run at all with him healthy. Because when we won the World Series, he had torn his ACL, which he was going to win the MVP that year. He was running away with it pre-ACL tear. He was the only reason we were even afloat at that point in the series or in the season. Even though it didn't happen this weekend, I'm hoping that him coming back can maybe spark something because I don't know. We need something. And even just talking about the game he came back in, he hits the home run. We do lose, but he also throws out a runner at second. He just does it all. So.
Because it was against the Padres, but.
Yeah, y'all won the series, so congrats. That's tough. We got rained out tonight, so. But yeah, we can move on to Winter Road Chicken Dinner. Quick shout out to the only Detroit Tigers fan I know, Harris Oakley. It's been fun to watch this bunch play. Over the past 100 games, so dating back to late last season when they went on their run to kind of find their way into the playoffs, I believe. They have the best record in baseball. They're winning at like a 638 clip or something like that, win percentage. Done largely by their pitching staff led by Tariq Skubal, who threw a 13K Maddox in his last start. If you don't know what a Maddox is, it basically means you throw a complete game in under 100 pitches. And typically when you strike out a lot of guys, your pitch count is not low because you have to throw at least 3 pitches to strike out a guy, and normally you're not striking a guy out on just 3 pitches. So it's the most ever Ks recorded in a Maddox, and he throws 103 on his final pitch of the game. Just a special talent, and then you have guys like Javier Baez, resurgence in the lineup. It's just kind of a fun bunch to watch right now. Hopefully they can keep it going. So that's my winter chicken dinner. I said we'd talk about music later in this podcast. Something I didn't know if they would ever come up on the show. I'm kind of glad I get to vent about it a little bit, honestly. But one of the NBA's biggest icons has fallen prey to Benson Boone, a terrible music artist. Just pop slop is what it is, man. If I see that guy do one more backflip on the stage or grab at the crotch of his jumpsuit again, I don't know what they'll do, but it won't be good. He has. I looked it up. He has 55 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Crazy. I guess shout out to him. I mean, you're making a ton of money, but if you could just do that while making good music, that'd be ideal. But yeah, my raw egg is Steph Curry. Was seen at a concert singing along to "Beautiful Things" by Benson Boone. In my eyes, one of the more objectively uncool things you could be caught doing. I don't know. It's just a bad look. I asked the boys how does that affect Steph Curry's legacy. I know, JP, you're not a big Benson Boone guy. We do have one Benson Boone fan on the panel, Sanders Oakley.
Benson Boone fan. That one song gets stuck in my head because of the little kid that sings it. I'm the little kid fan singing Benson Boone.
Sure. Good save. I mean, look, I called it pop slop. One thing pop slop is really good at is being a little earworm and digging its way into your brain.
Yeah.
So my 14-year-old sister loves Benson Boone, and I feel like that's about the only group of people that should love Benson Boone. But no, he's blown up. So Steph Curry, brother, I don't know. Unless, look, he's still singing along, but like if it comes out, he's like, I went with my daughter. Like maybe if we can find an avenue out of this.
And create the immersive experience.
But I did not see a daughter in that video.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm disappointed, honestly. It hurts. JP, you're a big Steph guy, too. So, I mean, you're a Warriors guy.
It's a yikes, for sure. It's not the worst thing that has been, like, non-basketball related to come from Steph in the past 3 years, but it's up there, 100%. Yeah, that was a rough sight to see, especially like after, what was it, like 2 days ago, I texted in the chat, half jokingly, half not. Girlfriend just played 20 straight minutes of Benson Boone. Does this call for the end of a 3.5-year relationship? Yeah, so that kind of portrays my feelings of Benson Boone as well. Yeah, tough look.
It's a tough look. Once again, I'm just glad I have a way on the show to not out of the blue say I really, really dislike Benson Boone.
Yeah.
I would say he's the worst thing to happen to music in this past calendar year. So, and I could be missing something, but just in my personal music sphere / experience, he's the worst thing to happen. So,
yeah. No, I think that's fair.
All right, Sanders, you want to hit us with?
You can't hear me in the live stream?
Oh.
So I don't get it.
I can hear you just fine. Hello to the Oakley family.
I'm talking.
Well, then keep talking, and you'll hear.
But so you listen to the live stream, you can hear yourself.
I can hear myself.
Weird.
So bad. Is it bad for y'all?
That sound bad to me. When I listen to my phone, it didn't sound terrible. But that's not a good sight. I mean, you don't sound crisp, but you don't sound bad. Like you're coming through pretty clearly. It's not crackly. It's not crazy echoey. Yes. Yeah, that sounds pretty rough.
No, I'm not sure. Not crackly. Yeah. I think we just keep powering through as is. We can hear me. And you know.
We're this far in now, so we're this far in now.
Mm-hmm.
If this keeps being a problem, we'll go back to calling in JP into the show at the LeBaron Philon is returning to Alabama. Crazy.
My mom texts me to say that she can hear me now or acknowledge the shout out. She has not. Maybe they're just super far behind the live stream, and so like.
It could. Yeah, I mean they could have gone back and started it late.
Yeah. else on the live stream, then we're just going to move on to question of the week.
But
Because like the more I think about it, the more I'm wondering if you'll need to do research. My question is, if you looked at like the 2010 through 2020 draft classes, and which year would win?
it does make sense. That is a tough thing to hit on the fly.
I figured, whoa, you good?
Golly, my screen is bright. Is that better? Am I no longer a ghost? Oh my god, I can't see. Yeah, it's a tough thing to answer off the top of my head. But
My part, JP's thinking about it.
I'm trying to see if I can even just come up with
I feel like the hardest position to find was a center. So I think that like finding a draft class with an elite center is like classes that just don't have a good center, and so they're just going to be thrown out.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and throw out the past 2 draft classes. They're too young. They wouldn't hold up. In terms of like, yeah, I mean the players just aren't good enough yet. Even though my initial
20, like I said.
Oh, you said through 2020. Apologize. Or apologies. It is. I mean, the center. We have a center shortage in the NBA now. In terms of centers are asked to do so much with how perimeter focused the game is. So you're asked to be a 7-foot guy that can hold down the paint and be strong inside, but then also be mobile enough to keep up with fast guards on switches and stuff. And that's just so hard to do. So.
AD in it or a young.
Are we talking about the current? Is everyone in their current form, or are we talking about like the peaks of some of these classes? Okay. This class is lacking a good center, unless you're gonna roll Jonas Valanciunas out there. I mean, the class was Kyrie Irving, Tristan Thompson, and Kawhi Leonard, and Jimmy Butler. That's a pretty good starting point. 2011. But yeah, the best center from this class is Jonas Valanciunas, who isn't terrible, but you're just really lacking some size. Shout out Nikola Mirotic, by the way, drafted 23rd in this class. Oh, Vucevic. You have Vucevic here at 16. That's not a bad center. I like this class a lot, honestly. Even if you're talking about rounding out a team, you have guys like Kemba Walker. The fact that Enes Kanter went 3rd overall is crazy. I don't know. That's a good name right there.
It's Enes Freedom, by the way.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot he changed his name. 2012, you have AD, Bradley Beal, Dame. Shout out Harrison Barnes. Not shout out Myers Leonard. You get a negative shout out. Yeah.
Joel Embiid, Julius Randle, Zach LaVine, Nurkic, Marcus Smart, Aaron Gordon, Andrew Wiggins. Give me 2014. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Jokic as a pretty good class.
Yeah, they're the best team. I don't need to hear any other class.
Great class other than Jokic. I mean, Embiid is good.
I mean, Embiid won an MVP very recently. Wiggins has had good years. Julius Randle's been an all-star.
At their peak, Zach LaVine is a 20-plus point per game scorer.
Aaron Gordon's
Randle is a 20-point per game scorer multiple years.
Do we get bubble T.J. Warren?
Marcus Smart was one of. Marcus Smart is a defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Come on now, as a guard. So let's. Don't say they're not good. Like, come on now.
Yeah, 2014 is a good answer.
Yeah, I don't. You're not.
Think about
You're not
that.
stopping. You're not stopping Embiid and Jokic, both in their peak. Because they can both stretch the floor, so it's not like it's even a problem to play them at the same time. Let alone then you also have a defensive player of the year, a guy like Julius Randle, Aaron Gordon, a great fit, Zach LaVine is part of that team. Spencer Dinwiddie is in that class. At his peak, he's a great bench player. Yeah. Come on now. If we're taking players at their peak, Jabari Parker, when he was at Duke, was good. Outside of that, he was not good. Okay. Well,
I mean, I could put together a team of Marvin Bagley, Amari Spellman, Javon Carter, Anthony Simons, and Chandler Hutchinson, and probably go toe-to-toe with your 2014 crew, or 2015 crew, 2014.
If my crew was playing on their knees, yeah, maybe. I still think that would be kind of fun. That actually would be interesting.
Yeah, putting the draft classes together.
Yeah, that would actually be very interesting. Do that over the course of
content.
Yeah,
I love the old drafts, man.
Okay, so
just seeing these crazy names out in Grievous Vasquez.
Dog.
Facts. Out of Maryland. Nemanja Bjelica. Another dog. Jacob Dance Lance, drafted at 40 in 2010. Gosh. I miss John Wall. Now I'm just really dark. Gosh. There we go, I'm back.
Basically everything for the show.
Yeah.
News. I told you about it off air, but apparently someone at On3 posted the article that Brian O'Connor had been announced as the next head coach of Mississippi State, and then it was quickly taken.
We will.
On3 might try to tell people we do not know yet.
Yeah. We can talk about that more when it happens, but it is looking very likely it's going to be Brian O'Connor. Unless On3 deleted it because something crucial happened, which I highly doubt. I think they just, were a little ahead of it, but they're a pretty reliable source. So it's not like some burner posted it. Well, Aggie burners are notoriously pretty reliable. So, no, they're actually some of the worst.
That was shot down by a source very quickly.
We have like 2 good A&M insiders that are like not really affiliated with. Well, one of them's kind of affiliated. One of them is not affiliated with anyone, and he actually is reliable. But he's just made a bunch of people try and think they can do the same, which it just comes down to they have a TexAgs premium account, and just try and get ahead of things by being like, oh, they said he's our leading target. I'm gonna tweet. Deal is done. He's headed to College Station right now.
You just got lucky. You make it look like you know what you're talking about.
And then it crashes and burns because you say Chris Beard has signed a deal to be Texas A&M's next head coach. And then that doesn't come to fruition, and then everyone knows you're a clown. So, unlucky. Be better.
For real.
I guess that's it. We can wrap it up. We can get JP to sleep. I know he's got early work tomorrow. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back for you all next Sunday. I believe we will all be in studio, so should have better audio quality. Things should be a little smoother. But we